Welcome back to Basics, a new IDPE podcast in association with Schools Management Plus. I'm Simon Lurwell, the Director of Development at Marlborough College and Chair of IDPE. And each week, we're going to hear from an experienced development leader who is part of IDPE's New to Development programme and an expert in a particular area of fundraising and engagement. And I'm delighted to be joined for our first ever podcast by Lisa Connor, Head of Development and Alumni Relations at Merchant Taylors Crosby in Liverpool. Today, Lisa's going to be sharing her experience and expertise on Giving Days. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
But before we get on to that, we're going to start each podcast with a short icebreaker question, which is, what's the fundraising or engagement idea that you wish you'd thought of and why?
So I thought about this quite long and hard. My background is in charity fundraising rather than schools, and actually thought back to my first role in a charity, which was at the RNLI, and I arrived there right in the middle of their quite famous Train One Save Many campaign, which was a really powerful campaign and was one of the first ones that really cut across a whole national charity, right across operations, fundraising, incredibly successful, and it's just always stayed with me because it's really simple, really effective, just boiled it down to one sentence, does what it says on the tin, and it was incredibly powerful, both from inside the organisation and externally, and I just thought a really great way of making a good, strong case for support, and I try to kind of keep those principles with my work to this day.
Very good. Sometimes the simplest ideas are the best.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you've been at Merchant Taylors for 7 years and you were in the charity sector before that. So tell me briefly about your career to date.
So we started off in event management, and then as mentioned, my first charity role was with the RNLI, organising events and fundraising for them. And then I went to social housing and fundraising for homelessness projects, and then ended up in the independent school sector.
Very good. And briefly, difference between charity and school sector?
Quite significant, actually, I have to say. So the principles of fundraising remain the same, but it's such a different operating environment. And what I would say is I feel very keenly the benefit that we have in the school sector and university sector to a certain extent of having a ready, engaged and warm audience. That's such a difference from the incredibly hard work you have to do at somewhere like the RNLI just to get your foot in the door. So I think I never take for granted how lucky we are that we actually do already have an open door to push on with our audience.
Very true. And hence why Giving Days can be so effective when you have an engaged, warm audience. And that's the main theme of today's podcast. If people don't know what Giving Days are, they are a 24 to 48 hour fundraising appeal, normally run at the school with people fundraising and online with parents and alumni donating. And the aim really is to create a buzz internally, externally, secure new donors, raise funds, and have some fun. We'll find out how much fun in a moment. Because Lisa, you've run 2 Giving Days, so tell us briefly about your experience of running those.
So we started our Giving Day journey in 2021, slightly by accident. So we were intending to relaunch our bursary campaign in 2020 for our 400th anniversary. And we all know what happened in 2020. So all plans went out the window. We were due to start with a telethon as well as a number of events in 2020 with a planned Giving Day in 2021. We then had to decide how to reconfigure and decided that the best thing to do would be to stick to the original schedule and actually do a Giving Day in 2021, which was our first big fundraising push coming out of the anniversary. So we ran our first Giving Day May 2021. We raised just over £136,000 from 358 donors, which was a significant increase on our target. We'd aimed for 150 donors. So we were really happy with the results. Went very well right across our community and particularly in our kind of target growth areas, which was parents and women who were kind of gaps that we had in our database. Our strategy since then has been to alternate Giving Day and telethon each year. So we did a telethon as a follow-up in 2022 with the aim of increasing our regular donor base and targeting those people who'd given for the first time in the Giving Day in 21. And then we did a second Giving Day in 2023 where we raised £102,000 from 197 donors. So again, we're really pleased with that. It was quite a difficult external operating environment at that time. So we're really pleased to just tip over the 100,000.
Yeah, very good. I think any Giving Day over 100,000, particularly on the second one, is impressive. Interesting that you didn't originally want to use the Giving Day as the kind of jumpstart, the kind of launch, if you like, of your 400th anniversary fundraising, but actually, in hindsight, you felt that was a good thing, which actually I agree with. But just explain why you think a Giving Day is quite a good way to launch a fundraising appeal to your audience.
I think fundamentally fundraising is communications, and it's nothing without the communications, and a Giving Day is almost the purest expression of a communications blitz, and actually it worked incredibly well for us to absolutely blast our fundraising messages right across our community, from pupils to parents to alum to the wider local community. We made a lot of noise, and that's what Giving Days are all about. Take people with you, get them on board, and it just really brought everybody together, made them feel part of something in a way that nothing else that I've done in my time here has been able to do. And in hindsight, having a telethon then as a follow-up to that kind of warming up blast of communication felt a lot more effective. Obviously, I don't know how effective a telethon would have been if we'd started, but it felt great to be able to actually pick up the phone and follow up from that initial gift and communication thanks to the Giving Day, and that felt like it worked really well.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm with you. I've in my career been involved in 3 campaign launches, and the latest one was also titled Giving Day, and it was fantastic because as you say, with telephone campaigns, it's quite a narrow group of people you're communicating with, and it can be a very strong communication, but it doesn't have that broad reach, and in such a short time, over just a day or two, to, as you say, all pupils, all parents, all alumni. I think using Giving Days to launch campaigns is very smart. And interesting, because you've done 2. So what did you learn from your first Giving Day that you then implemented in your second one?
I think we did a really good analysis of the good points and the bad points, as of course you should do after anything like this. I think we took the positives forward and built on them. So those were really the strength of our digital engagement. So really continued to focus on that, and we did some very specific social media audience building before the second one. We already had a very good social media audience specifically for alumni, but we slightly cynically ramped that up in the weeks before the second Giving Day, just to maximise the engagement, and just really focused on the awareness side of things. So again, the pre-Giving Day communications perhaps were more of a focus going into the second one. So laying out that trail so that when it comes, everyone's very clear about what we're doing, what it's for, and why. I think some of the more tricky points from the first one that we were able to work on: staff engagement and senior buy-in. From the first one, there was an element of novelty, so we did get a bit of buy-in on that point of view, but that was definitely something that needed work, and I would say continues to need work. So as always in schools, there are some who are fantastic and get on board and help with these things. There are many others who are just incredibly busy, and it's obviously not really on their radar. But that was a challenge and continues to be a challenge, I would say, to bring teaching staff and others who can perhaps help to implement some of the in-school activities with us. But by the second one, they obviously understood more what was going on. They were able to see the headline results, which do help to open the door a bit, because they can see the sort of impact that's having. So I think that did help quite a lot going into the second one. And also resources. A challenge for me. I work alone, so I think I just got a bit smarter at knowing where to put my time and effort, where to try and outsource or use help, or perhaps just make the decisions, no, we don't really need to do that, or that's not something I need to spend my time on. I think I did everything. I tried to do everything the first time, whereas I was just worked smarter the second time, really.
And I do think that's seriously impressive, by the way. Most or a lot of schools will work with a consultant to run a giving day, particularly their first one, or at least have a team. So to be on your own running a giving day for the first time, very impressive, and for it to be so successful.
Well, still standing and definitely possible.
So what, taking all that together then, what would be your kind of top 3 tips for giving days?
So we think first and foremost, giving days are great. And to reference kind of a question from the beginning, actually are really good fun. I think they're the most enjoyable thing I've done in my 7 years. It feels very energizing to do something so different and so inclusive and so involving. So they are a real force for good, a real positive, but they're only good if you do them for the right reasons. If it sits as part of your existing strategy, if it works for your audience, if it works for your school, if it helps you to achieve your strategic objectives, it's a great thing. If it doesn't do those things, it's going to be really hard work and like walking and chewing gum. You need to do it for the right reasons, and there are loads of those, but just make sure it really works for you, not just what everyone else is doing. I think making it your own as well is the other thing I would say is a big headline. So really, you know your own community, you know what's going to work best for your people. You've got to make it feel like it's for your community and it belongs to your community. It can't just be, well, I saw someone else doing that and it looked great, so I'm going to do it. Doesn't mean you can't do that, of course you can, but make sure that it really fits your community. What you want to achieve, what your targets are, and how you want to do that need to feel like they really belong to you. And then the last one, I think I say to a number of people that I talk to Giving Days about, is that digital engagement is absolutely crucial. So if you don't have a really strong, broad base of digital engagement across a number of different platforms, e-news, social media, all that kind of thing, you're going to struggle and you will not reach those targets. People don't give from social media that much, but the overall noise and engagement that you have to build up over quite a significant amount of time, that's really important. So even if it's something you're thinking about doing in future, think forward and plan how to get those foundations in place before you rush in and do the Giving Day.
Yes, because there are a lot of work and probably need to be planning, I guess, 6-9 months in advance, ideally.
Ideally, I think, yes, but our first one we did in a couple of months, and then probably more like 6 months, the second one. So, yeah.
Okay, so it is possible. Very good. Well, good luck with your next Giving Day.
Thanks.
Away from Giving Days, just to finish, what's the one bit of advice you'd wish you'd been given when you started in fundraising?
I think it's back to communication. So it's actually taken me far too long to realize that communication really is the nub of everything. So good quality communication and what you're communicating is fundraising. Fundraising is communication, communication is fundraising. So there's an awful lot more comms involved than just the fundraising skills. I sit in with our marketing team, and I think that's benefited me hugely in terms of enhancing our comms and building those digital platforms. And I think that then pays forward into fundraising. So I think perhaps had I cottoned onto that a little bit quicker, that may have made a difference.
Yeah, and the quality of comms and digital comms, I think, becoming more and more important. People are kind of bombarded with so much. You've got to stand out. Well, thank you, Lisa, for sharing your time and expertise today. Really interesting to hear about your approach to Giving Days at Merchant Taylors. And as I said, all the more impressive, given you did it all by yourself. Finally, a reminder that you can hear more from Lisa talking about Giving Days as part of the IDPE's New to Development programme. This launches in November and provides a great introduction to all of the fundamentals of schools fundraising and engagement. So if you're new to the sector or in the process of setting up a development office at your school, head to the IDPE website to find out more. Thanks for listening. See you on the next podcast.